Greetings and welcome back. So, we are still looking at the topic of festivals of Trinidad and Tobago, and today we want to highlight two separate festivals in one class and see what are some of the similarities and differences that we can find between the two of them. They are the Santa Rosa Festival and the La Divina Pastora Festival. Now, as always, we are following our little format where we want to highlight the who, the what, the where, the when, the how, and of course the why as it pertains to these two different festivals. So let's start off first with the Santa Rosa Festival. We want to find out what is it, because I'm quite sure a lot of you have never heard about it before. So we have Holy Faith Convent Penal, we have different houses that are named after different saints. The blue house is called St. Rose of Lima, and St. Rose of Lima is actually the English name for the Saint Santa Rosa, right? So she's St. Rose of Lima because she was from the town of Lima in Peru. She's considered to be the first saint of the New World, in inverted commas. Of course, when we're talking about the New World, we are talking about all of the places in this part of the world, South Central America, the Caribbean, all of these places that were reportedly, in inverted commas again, rediscovered by European settlers. Right, so her being from Peru, she was considered to be the first saint of this part of the world. So those of us who are Roman Catholic will know that saints have their own feast days, so days throughout the year that are dedicated directly to them. As such, the Santa Rosa Festival commemorates the day that is dedicated to Saint Rose. Now, just very briefly, a little bit about Saint Rose. She was called Rose because she was very beautiful. However, she was declared a saint because of her very strong commitment to God and to her religion. So she was very beautiful, and as such, she attracted many suitors, meaning there were a lot of men who wanted to marry her. But she had decided to commit her life to Christ and be completely chaste, which would mean that she cannot get married. So she was not interested at all in worldly things like that, which was very much to the discontent of her parents. So, for instance, because she did not want to attract suitors anymore, she would actually scar her face and then rub pepper in it so that she would not be perceived as beautiful anymore. It was said that she only used to sleep for 2 hours every night because she used to spend the rest of her time praying. And these are just some examples of some of the things that make up Saint Rose's story and why she became a saint. So, yes, it is a Roman Catholic saint and a Roman Catholic celebration, but it is also linked to us specifically because it's believed that Saint Rose appeared to a group of CARIB hunters hundreds of years ago in the town of Arima. Of course, when we're talking about CARIB, we are talking about the Kalinagos, one of the indigenous groups of people who lived in Trinidad and Tobago, the Amerindians, as we might want to call them. And Santa Rosa Festival is one of the biggest events to happen in the borough of Arima. So you see, we're already going into the where a little bit there. So when is the Santa Rosa Festival celebrated? As I already mentioned, it is celebrated on the feast day of St. Rose of Lima, which is August 23rd, but the festival itself is launched at the beginning of August. So it's almost like a season and then a culmination. And where? We briefly spoke about this, but let's go into a little bit more detail of where the Santa Rosa Festival is celebrated. It is based out of the Santa Rosa Roman Catholic Church in the borough of Arima. Now, Arima being particularly important, and this is where the First People's involvement becomes really crucial to the celebration of the Santa Rosa Festival. So, during the 1700s, we had, of course, Trinidad and Tobago being colonized by the Spanish, and part of their colonizing mission was to convert the indigenous people to Christianity. So one of the groups that was sent to do this was a group of priests called Capuchin priests, who set up a church and a mission in Arima. So this was the Santa Rosa RC Church. Then in the 1780s, the governor at the time, I'm sure you remember this from social studies, Jose Maria Chacon, he ordered that the Amerindians would be removed from their lands where they settled and lived in Aruca and Tacarigua and relocated to Arima so that they could take their, when I say they, I mean the colonials, they could take the very fertile land in Aruca and Tacarigua and distribute it to the French who were invited to come and live in Trinidad and Tobago. So they basically lumped a lot of Amerindian people into Arima where the lands were not as fertile. So this would explain why there's such a strong presence of First Peoples in Arima. Now, who celebrates it? So Roman Catholics, of course, because it's based out of the Roman Catholic Church, as well as descendants of the first people, namely a group called the Santa Rosa CARIBs, are the main people behind the Santa Rosa Festival. It is organized by the CARIB Queen alongside the CARIB Chief. So the current CARIB Queen, now this is an elder supposed to be in a community who represents, she's almost like the president, I suppose you could say. Well, really the queen of the Santa Rosa First Peoples. Her name is NONA AQUAN. So you see women having a very important role in the First Peoples celebrations and society. And she is assisted by Chief RICARDO Hernandez. Of course, these roles change every few years. There might be somebody else who is chosen to hold these positions, but Chief RICARDO Hernandez is the current Amerindian chief of the Santa Rosa First Peoples. Now let's go a little bit into how the festival is actually celebrated. What are some of the things that they do at the Santa Rosa Festival? So as you can observe from the photos, people who are descendants of the first people will wear the type of clothes that Amerindians used to wear, or at least the memories that we were and the archives that we were able to salvage. They try to bring those fashion choices back to life here. So on the 1st of August, a cannon is launched at Calvary Hill in Arima to mark the beginning of the festival, and then they engage in the dressing of the church, which is essentially where they decorate the church with flowers. You're going to see a lot of flowers in this celebration for St. Rose, of course. And then there's a mass that is held at the church where both Roman Catholics and First Peoples get to express their religious practices in one space. So one of the religious practices of the First Peoples would be things like smoke ceremonies, which you will see in this picture here, because they believe that, of course, smoke rises, it goes up into the heavens, so it's offered like a prayer, right? So you see two different cultures, different religious beliefs, different ethnicities sometimes coming together in the same space. So there's also a procession where the statue of St. Rose of Lima is taken from the church and carried through the streets. Her canopy is decorated with flowers to represent her tomb, and of course her name is St. Rose, so there's going to be a lot of roses. And there's a day full of activities with markets, celebrations, and music, specifically a lot of parang. So these are some photos from the procession for Santa Rosa Festival. And you see a lot of pink, you see a lot of people wearing and carrying flowers, and there is the photo of the statue being carried through the town. So more again, you see on the left hand side Roman Catholic celebration, and then on the right hand side you see the First Peoples celebration. What's very interesting is both of them use smoke, but in somewhat different ways. More photos again. You see lots of color and lots of excitement going on there as well. Now, why? Why is it important to celebrate something like the Santa Rosa Festival? Of course, to preserve the culture of the First Peoples and share it with the wider community. Unfortunately, we in Trinidad and Tobago don't know very much or don't know as much as we should about the First Peoples, except from what we're taught in social studies, which is quite often inaccurate. So it's very important to preserve this culture because they are just as much a part of our cultural landscape as African people, Indian people, Syrian people, Chinese people, all of these things, right? And of course, we call them the first peoples because they were the first peoples to live in Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, it brings together people from different ethnic backgrounds in one place in harmony. Ha 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 ha. Right? To celebrate. And also, I mean, it's just important. It's important for anybody to have religious and cultural freedom to practice what they know and what they love and pay homage to their ancestors and the people who would have died and fought for us to be able to hold on to what we are able to hold on to in terms of these traditions. So that is the long and short of the Santa Rosa Festival. We want to jump into another. We're next going to look at the festival of La Divina Pastora. So another Spanish name. And we go in again with the who, the what, the where, the when, the how, and the why. So what is the festival of La Divina Pastora first and foremost? Now, what is La Divina Pastora all about? So, quite similar to Santa Rosa Festival, La Divina Pastora is a Spanish name for a saint, and this translates to the divine shepherdess. I spelled shepherdess wrong, it's supposed to have two S's, so female version of a shepherd is a shepherdess, right? So, that is what La Divina Pastora means. She is one of the representations of the Virgin Mary. There are many different representations of the Virgin Mary, and this one is obviously a shepherdess. So she has a staff in her hand. As you can see, what shepherds do, they guide sheep. Of course, is a metaphor for guiding people and thing. So the festival of La Divina Pastora is the annual celebration of her feast day, quite like Santa Rosa Festival is a celebration of Saint Rosa's feast day. Now, it is centered around this one statue of the Virgin Mary under the representation of the Divine Shepherdess. And this statue has really strong significance for the church and the people who come to celebrate it. So it is as you can see from the photo, unlike most statues of the Virgin Mary, this one has brown skin. So she's called the Black Madonna or Sapari Mai. Sapari Mai then being the Hindu, the name that has Hindu origins, Hindu/Hindi origins. And of course, Madonna is another word for Mary. So Black Madonna would be Black Mary. So some stories say that the statue itself floated all the way from Venezuela to Trinidad. Other people say that the statue saved a priest's life a really long time ago. There's another story that says that there were some Spaniards, of course, when we were a Spanish colony, who picked up the statue in the depths of the forest. And then they moved it to the Urupuch Church, and it didn't stay there because the statue mysteriously / magically went back to its space in the forest from where it was taken. And then there's another story that says that the Warao, which is indigenous Venezuelan people from the Orinoco River, while they were fleeing persecution from another tribe, they brought the statue to Trinidad and hid it in the forest. And they tried to find it afterwards. And then when they found it, it was in the La Divina Pastora church. And then there's just a regular story that some priest brought it to Trinidad. Anyway, the point is there are lots of stories, different theories or legends about this one particular statue, and all in all, it is a very special statue. Now, when is La Divina Pastora celebrated? So this is actually commemorated on well, there is some commemoration that's done on Holy Thursday and Good Friday. Of course, it's around Easter time, but the main celebration is on the second Sunday after Easter, which is the feast day of La Divina Pastora. And where does this celebration take place? It takes place at another church. This one is in Siparia at the La Divina Pastora RC Church. Who celebrates La Divina Pastora? This is where it becomes very, very, very interesting. When you go to the celebration of La Divina Pastora, you will find, even though it happens in a Roman Catholic church and it is a Roman Catholic statue, you find people from all different walks of life, all different ethnicities, all different religions, who for some reason see something in this statue that they can relate to or something to be venerated. So you have Roman Catholics, you have Hindus who venerate Sipari Mai or Mother Kali, or what they call a Sipari Murti. Warao people, so again, First Peoples, there are some Muslims, spiritual Baptists, Orishas. There are people from all different religions who come to venerate the statue of La Divina Pastora. A lot of them are mothers or women who are hoping to become pregnant, or mothers who come to pray that their children will be strong and healthy, and a lot of people who may suffer with fertility issues in particular. So La Divina Pastora is another meeting place where you have many, many, many different cultures and religions coming into the same multicultural, multi-religious space. So, getting even more interested, we want to look at how is La Divina Pastora celebrated. So, first of all, a selected group of women will dress the statue in new clothes to prepare for the festival. And there is a mass at the church, and then, just like Santa Rosa Festival, the statue is carried in a procession through Siparia. Now, because there are different religions in the same space, the different religions are going to have different ways of celebrating and venerating. So some people, especially Hindus, will offer rice, jewelry, flowers, candles, olive oil, and even money. And outside in the churchyard at the La Divina Pastora Church, sometimes you will see young boys having their hair cut. This is a traditional Hindu practice that the young boys will receive their first haircut at the church. And of course, that first haircut is very symbolic and very important. Then you're just going to have prayer, almsgiving, which means you're giving to the poor, the needy, and things like that. So a long time ago, they actually used to have animal sacrifices in the church that not Roman Catholics but other religions used to have, and they sort of phased that out. I'm sure you can imagine how possibly chaotic or really interesting it can get when you have different religions with their different rituals and different symbols coming together in the same space. So here are some photos of the statue itself. Over the years, she has gotten more modern. You know, she's gotten some facelift. She's gotten new clothes that look a little bit more modern. And for the festival itself, she is changed into her white dress and veil, and of course, she will always have her shepherdess staff. That is the long and short of La Divina Pastora and Santa Rosa Festival. I absolutely invite you to go and read more about the two festivals and find out about them. Of course, we're comparing and contrasting. There's a lot that they have in common and a lot that's different as well. So I hope you enjoyed learning about these two festivals, and I look forward to seeing you soon.